I'm just a simple guy. I don't get all these mind games. I just wanted to marry a good wife and live a quiet life. So, after marrying the fallen heiress, Liu Ruyan, and tying the knot, I gave her my whole heart and everything I had. That year her dad's investments tanked, and he jumped off a building. Her mom had a breakdown and was sent to the psych ward. It was me who stepped up to save the sinking ship and single-handedly brought her company back from the dead. But on our 5th wedding anniversary, I was happily cooking up a storm in the kitchen, getting ready to surprise her. Then Liu Ruyan sent a text. It just had a few words. He's back. Let's get a divorce. What the hell? It made zero sense. Absolutely delusional. I froze and instinctively replied, your dad's back? He doesn't approve of our marriage. She replied, my first love is back. I was furious. A divorce? No freaking way. In my dictionary there's only widowed, not divorced. The moment she texted divorce, the water in the pot boiled over. I stared at the words on my screen, reading them over and over, 3 times, making sure I wasn't hallucinating. He's back. Let's get a divorce. Just those words. No build-up. No explanation. Not even a greeting. I stared at that text for a long time, until the boiling water spilled over and put out the stove fire. The kitchen filled with the smell of scorched iron. Today is our 5th wedding anniversary. I took the day off and spent the whole morning prepping. I made sweet and sour ribs, braised prawns, stir-fried veggies, and her favorite, crab roe tofu. That dish is a total hassle to make. You have to extract the crab meat fresh. I squatted in the kitchen picking apart 4 hairy crabs, getting 2 nasty cuts on my fingers from the shells. I just slapped on some band-aids and kept going. I set the table, lit the candles, and even bought a bouquet of white roses. She loves white roses. I don't know why she likes them. Honestly, I never know what she likes. For 5 years, I had to guess her favorite foods just by watching her eat. She never tells me anything. She's always so distant and polite to me, like I'm just a roommate, or some business partner she barely knows. I texted her super early today, coming home for dinner. I cooked. She replied, in a meeting. I followed up. Do you know what day it is? Do you even remember? She left me on read. 2 hours later, I got those words. He's back. Let's get a divorce. I put my phone down, walked over, and sat at the dining table. The candles were half burned, leaving white wax stains on the tablecloth. The food was stone cold. The sweet and sour sauce had formed a greasy film. The prawn shells looked dry and hard. I looked at this table full of food, and suddenly found it hilarious. Gee Boda, what the hell are you doing? Did you think cooking a meal would make her look at you? Did you think waiting for 5 years would make her treat you like a husband? Stop being delusional. I stood up, carried the dishes into the kitchen one by one, and dumped them straight into the trash. The plates clattered with a harsh, piercing sound. Sauce splattered everywhere. I threw the white roses in the trash too. Petals scattered all over the floor. I stepped right over them, leaving crushed white pieces on the floorboards. Then I sat back down at the table and poured myself a drink. It wasn't some fancy liquor, just cheap ergotifu from the supermarket, a few bucks a bottle. Liu Ruyan never let me drink this at home. She said it smelled too strong and made the house smell like a cheap food stall. She said high society people don't drink this trash. I usually listened to her. I kept her favorite red wines stocked up, learning how to swirl the glass like she taught me, decanting it, sniffing it. But, honestly, I can't taste the freaking difference. I just like this cheap stuff. It's spicy, it burns, and it's cheap, just like me. One shot down, and my stomach was on fire. My phone lit up again. It was her again. I'm coming home tonight. We need to talk. I let out a laugh. Coming home. You still have the nerve to come back. I texted back one word. Fine. Then I put my glass down, walked into the living room, and sat on the couch. I didn't turn on the light. The candles were blown out. The whole house was pitch black, only a faint glow from the city lights outside. I just sat there in the dark, waiting for her to come home, waiting for my wife to come negotiate our divorce. All because the guy she's been waiting for came back. Ito Cheng. I've heard that name before. I knew about him 5 years ago. Back when the Liu family went bankrupt, Liu Ruyan came to me. and laid all her cards on the table. She told me she had an ex named Ito Chang. She said they broke up and would never contact each other again. She said she needed someone who could hold her family up. She said she chose me. At the time, I thought this girl was pretty straightforward. No hiding, no BS. Just telling it like it is. Looking back now, I was a massive simp. She wasn't being straightforward. She just flat out didn't respect me. She didn't care if I knew about him or not, because to her, I was just a stepping stone, a rebound, a tool to help her survive the crisis. A total simp who couldn't walk away from a pretty face. And the worst part? I really was. I leaned back on the couch and closed my eyes. In the dark, I could hear my heavy breathing, like a cornered beast. I don't know how much time passed. The door clicked, the sound of keys turning, the click-clack of heels on the floorboards. The lights flicked on. I opened my eyes. She stood at the door, wearing a beige trench coat, with a white blouse and a black pencil skirt underneath. Her hair was pinned up perfectly, her makeup flawless. Pearl earrings dangled from her ears. 5 years, and she hasn't changed a bit. Still breathtakingly beautiful, and still ice cold. She saw me sitting on the couch, and slightly frowned. Why are the lights off? I didn't answer. You didn't even take your shoes off. You're dirtying the carpet. The maid has to clean it tomorrow. I still said nothing. She walked over to the side sofa, sat down and placed her bag aside, legs crossed perfectly at an angle. Her posture looked like it was out of an etiquette textbook. She glanced at the empty liquor bottle and glass on the table, and her frown deepened. She asked, "You're drinking this trash again?" "Yeah," she sighed. "How many times have I told you?" I cut her off. "Didn't you want a divorce?" She paused, her face instantly going back to neutral. "Yes." I asked, "Why? You said it in the text, but I want to hear you say it to my face." She was silent for a few seconds. Then she said, "He's back." "Ito Chang? So you want a divorce because of him?" "Yes." Her tone was dead calm, like she was talking about the weather, like ending a marriage. Wasn't even worth a drop of emotion. I stared right at her. "Liu Ruyan, we've been married for 5 years. Let me ask you, in these 5 years, have I ever done you wrong? No. Have I ever mistreated you? No. Then, what gives you the right?" She raised her eyes to look at me. I knew that look way too well. Cold, restrained, polite. For 5 whole years, she had always looked at me like that. She said, "G. Boda. From the very beginning, this was just a transaction." I frowned. "A transaction?" She said, "You needed my family background and connections, and I needed your money. Over the last 5 years, I owe you absolutely nothing." I laughed. "You owe me nothing. Liu Ruyan, you seriously think you owe me nothing?" I stood up, looking down at her. 5 years ago, your family went bankrupt. Your dad jumped off a building. Your mom was in the hospital. Not a single one of your high society friends lifted a finger to help you and your precious first love, Ito Chang. He bolted faster than a rabbit, ran straight out of the country. He didn't even leave you a single text message. Then you came to me, crying for 5 million. My family's demolition payout was 5 to 2 million totally. I handed 5 million straight to you. You said it was just a loan, that you'd pay it back. You said you needed someone to help you hold down the Liu family company. You said you chose me because I was reliable. And like an idiot, I believed you. I gave you my entire net worth. I went to all your business dinners, sucked up to the executives, begged clients door to door with you. I know those elites looked down on me. They laughed at me for smacking my lips while eating. They mocked my cheap clothes. They made fun of my accent. But I didn't give a damn, because you told me you genuinely wanted to build a life with me. But what about you? I leaned down, planting both hands on the armrests next to her, trapping her against the sofa. I snarled, "How many times have you even slept with me these 5 years?" Her face shifted slightly. "Stop acting so pure and untouchable. Do you think I don't know what's in your head? I thought you were just a slow burner. Thought you just had a cold personality. I thought if I waited, you'd eventually treat me like a husband. But the truth, you were waiting for him, weren't you?" Her perfect expression finally cracked. Liu Ruyan shot back. "You don't know anything." I stared at her. "I don't know." "Then tell me." She stayed silent. "Liu Ruyan, I'm going to ask you one thing right now. In these 5 years, have you ever told me a single truth? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, about the divorce. I'll have my lawyer talk to you. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and turned towards the door. Stop. She paused her steps. I said, you're staying here tonight. I don't want to. I cut her off. This isn't about what you want. This is our house. You are my. She turned around, looking at me. You're insane. I'm not insane. I've just finally realized it. Realized what? Realized that you've never treated me like a human being. She took a deep breath. Jiboda, don't be like this. Let's part amicably. We can talk about the assets. Talk about what? I interrupted her. What right do you have to negotiate with me? What makes you think you have any leverage here? Liu Ruyan, 5 years ago, if it wasn't for me, you'd be living on the streets. That company of yours would have been swallowed whole with nothing left. The only reason you can stand here today asking for a divorce is because I used my 5 million to drag you out of the mud. And now, your old flame is back, and you want to kick me to the curb. Fine, you want a divorce, you got a G. But I get all the assets. The company, the house, the car, the savings, every last penny. You leave with absolutely nothing. Her eyes widened in shock. Liu Ruyan bit her lip. You're crazy. I laughed. Didn't you say he's back? Doesn't he love you? Then let him provide for you. You came crying to me back then. Now, go cry to him. Her expression finally changed. That mask of cold restraint completely shattered. Jiboda, don't cross the line. I'm crossing the line? I laughed. Liu Ruyan, who's the one actually crossing the line here? She glared at me for a good while. Then she slammed the door and left. The sound of her heels faded down the hallway. I stood there for a moment. Then, slowly sat back down on the couch. The house was quiet again. I picked up my phone and checked the time. 11 p.m. I opened my social media and posted a status update. Happy 5th anniversary. I attached a photo of the ruined dinner dumped in the trash. I set it to private, only visible to myself. Liu Ruyan didn't come home for 3 days. On the 4th day, a courier arrived, delivering a craft paper envelope. Inside was a divorce agreement. I sat at the dining table flipping through it, page by page. There were a lot of clauses, dense text covering several pages. The core message was simple. All assets, except the company, would go to me, plus an extra 5 million in cash compensation. She didn't want the house, the car, or the saving. She only wanted the company. I looked at that agreement and laughed. Liu Ruyan, you really know how to calculate. That company was an absolute mess 5 years ago. I was the one who poured money in to save it. I was the one who built the connections. I single-handedly brought it up to over 10 million in annual profit. And now you just want to snatch it away, since you want to be ruthless. Don't blame me for having no mercy. I picked up my phone and called her. It rang 3 times. She picked up. Liu Ruyan asked, did you get the agreement? I got it, she said. Look over the terms. If there aren't any problems. There are problems. She paused, then asked, where's the problem? I said, the entire thing is a problem. The other end of the line was quiet for a few seconds. Jiboda, I've already made huge concessions. Concessions. I leaned back in my chair. Liu Ruyan, you call this a concession? You started the company with my money. I built it with you over 5 years. Now you want a divorce. You want to take the whole company. And you're tossing me 5 million. So basically I've been your free labor for 5 years. She said, the 5 million is the principal you initially invested. I shot back. Is 5 million from 5 years ago worth the same as 5 million today? Housing prices have multiplied. I can add some more. I told you, I want all the assets. You leave with nothing. Silence on the other end. Jiboda, the company is mine. I laughed. Legally it's marital property. She said, it was left to me by my father. What your dad left you was an empty shell. A disastrous mess, buried in debt. How are you going to prove it's your personal property? A prenuptial agreement. You couldn't even afford a notary back then. She stayed silent. Liu Ruyan, let's stop playing games and be honest. You want a divorce? Fine. But it's on my terms. You leave with nothing. All assets go to me. If you think that's a bad deal, then we don't divorce. After a long time, she finally spoke. Do you think dragging this out will make me change my mind. I froze for a second. Jiboda, no matter how long you drag this out, I will never love you. She hung up after saying that. I held my phone, listening to the dial tone, and suddenly felt a tightness in my chest. Not because she said she'd never love me, but because I already knew that deep down. I just always refused to admit it. I put the phone down, stood up, and walked to the balcony. It was already late autumn. The night wind was bone-chilling. I lit a cigarette and looked out at the city lights. This city is so big, so cold, but it has nothing to do with me. I never truly belonged here. 5 years ago, I was just a relocated guy from the urban slums. My parents passed away early and left me an old house. That house was demolished, paying out $5.2 million. $5.2 million is nothing in the eyes of the rich. It can't even buy a decent house. But to me, it was an astronomical sum. I had never left the slums my whole life. My parents sold vegetables at the market, waking up at 3 a.m. every day to get stock from the wholesale market, working non-stop until 8 or 9 p.m. We lived in a self-built, 2-story small house. Downstairs was my parents' room and the living room. Upstairs was my room and a storage room. It leaked in the summer and drafted in the winter. My dad's biggest dream in life was to save enough to buy a commercial apartment in the city. He never saw that day. When the demolition money came in, he had already been gone for 3 years. When I got my hands on that money, I was completely stunned. I didn't know how to spend it. Back then, my salary was only $4 a month, working as a clerk on a construction site. Suddenly, having over $5 million, my first thought was to buy a house. I went to look at a few real estate projects. The sales ladies gave me very weird looks. I was wearing my construction uniform, with mud on my shoes. They probably thought I was just there for the AC. Just as I was hesitating whether to buy or not, I met Liu Ruyan. It was at a dinner party. I tagged along with the foreman for a free meal, thinking I could network a bit, and maybe get more jobs later. Liu Ruyan was sitting in the corner. She wore a simple black dress, with zero jewelry, but her aura was completely different from everyone else in the room. She sat there, like a piece of fine porcelain left behind at a flea market. Someone told me, that's the eldest daughter of the Liu family. The Liu family, I'd seen them in the papers before. The biggest textile enterprise in the city. Once, immensely glorious. But by then, they were already finished. Her dad's investments failed. He owed hundreds of millions and jumped. Her mom had a mental breakdown and was put in a psych ward. She was holding up the mess all by herself. I glanced at her back then. Didn't dare to stare. People like her aren't in my world. I ate that meal on edge, terrified of using the wrong chopsticks and getting laughed at. Later, she went to the restroom, and I happened to go too. In the hallway, she called out to me, "Are you Jiboda?" I was stunned. How did she know my name? She said, "I've asked around about you. I heard you have some spare cash. I want to discuss a partnership." What partnership? I need $5 million. I almost choked on my own spit. $5 million? Yes. Why should I give it to you? She looked at me, her eyes bright, as she said, "Because I can marry you." I thought she was crazy at the time. A high society heiress marrying me. A peasant like me, just for $5 million. My instinct told me this was sketchy. I turned to walk away. She spoke from behind. "I know you don't trust me, but think about it. What's the downside for you? You get the Liu family's network and elite resources. This money buys your entry ticket." I stopped in my tracks. Entry ticket. Those words hit me hard. I turned back and asked, "Are you serious?" She said, "You can look up all my information. My family's situation. The company's situation. I'll tell you everything." I asked, "What do you need the $5 million for?" "To pay off the most urgent debt. The rest goes to saving the company." "Can the company be saved?" She said, "With me here, yes." When she said that, her eyes were so certain. It wasn't fake confidence. She genuinely believed it. I stayed silent for a long time. "What's your condition?" She said, "I only have one condition. Treat me well, and I'll treat you well. We start fresh, no judging each other. I don't care about your past, and you don't ask about mine. We get married and build a good life together." She stood there under the dim hallway light, sounding so serious. I bought it. It was only later I realized Her definition of building a good life was totally different from mine. I thought it meant eating together, talking together, living life together. She thought it meant I provide the cash, she runs the business, and we live separate lives. Our life, after marriage, was nothing like what I imagined. I thought once you get married, you become a family. I thought if I gave my whole heart, she'd eventually see it. I thought feelings would grow over time. In our first year of marriage, I accompanied her to see clients, one by one. Those clients were all sly old foxes. Seeing a newbie, they immediately tried to lowball us. She put on airs and refused to budge. They'd just get mad and walk out. I would stop them and drag them out for drinks. I'm not a smooth talker, but I know how to make people feel good. I poured their drinks, handed them cigarettes, said all the right things. I knew they looked down on me, thought I was just a live-in son-in-law for the Liu family. That's fine. Look down on me all you want. I grew up being looked down on. I'm used to it, as long as we signed the contract. Everything else didn't matter. That year, I drank God knows how much alcohol. Puking and drinking and puking. The worst time, I drank until my stomach bled. I lay in the hospital for 3 days. She came to see me, stayed for 10 minutes, and left. She said there was an important meeting at the company. I lay in that hospital bed staring at the ceiling, telling myself she was just too busy. In our second year, the company started looking up. She managed the office. While I ran around outside, she handled the finances. I handled the people. She negotiated. And I entertained. We worked pretty well together. The company expanded from knockoffs to garment manufacturing. And then we started building our own brand. She had a great eye. The styles she designed always sold out instantly. And I was fast. I knew exactly which factory had tight deadlines, and which supplier had cheap fabric. I knew the industry inside out. That year, the company finally started turning a profit. Not much, but at least we weren't bleeding money anymore. She treated me to dinner. French food. I wasn't used to it. I was clumsy with the knife and fork. She didn't say anything, just frowned occasionally. She drank a little wine that day, and surprisingly spoke a bit more than usual. She said, "Gee Boda, if it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have made it this far." I said, "We're husband and wife." "Don't say that." She smiled slightly. That was the first time I ever saw her smile. In our third year, the company kept growing. Our brand started getting a reputation locally, and we opened a flagship store online. She started traveling frequently, attending industry forums and fashion events. I handled the internal messes at the company, managing staff, monitoring production, chasing down payments. People at the company called me Brother G, and called her President Lao. Sometimes I wondered, why is she President Liu, and I'm Brother G? Later I figured it out. Because in everyone's eyes, she is the real boss of this company. I am just a helper. That year, we barely ate at home together. She was always busy. I'd cook, and she'd say she wasn't coming back. I'd wait until the food got cold, eat alone, and do the dishes. In our fourth year, the company's annual profit hit 8 million. We threw a celebration banquet. She wore a stunning dress, stood on stage to give a speech, and thanked everyone. She mentioned the founding employees, mentioned the core team, mentioned our partners. The only person she didn't mention was me. I sat in the audience, holding a glass of red wine, pretending not to care. Coworkers came over to toast, telling me how lucky I was, marrying such a beautiful and capable wife. I just smiled and clinked glasses with them. After the party ended, I stayed behind to clean up. She and a few senior employees kept drinking in a private room next door. When I went to the restroom, I walked past their door. It wasn't closed tight. I heard voices coming from inside. It was Old Wang. Old Wang was one of the very first employees. He'd been with the Liu family for over a decade. He was drunk, slurring his words. President Liu, honestly, it would have been so great if you'd ended up with Ito Cheng back then. You two were such a perfect match. A match made in heaven. That kid might have been flaky, but at least he's from the same world as you. Not like this guy now. He didn't finish. Someone interrupted him. Someone warned him to watch his mouth. Old Wang burped and added, "I just feel it's unfair to you. Someone as outstanding as you. How did you end up marrying A?" He was interrupted again. And then I heard Lu Ruyan's voice. She didn't defend me. She just softly sighed. That sigh pierced my heart like a needle. I stood frozen outside the door. She's using me to stand tall. So, in the end, I was always the guy who couldn't measure up to Ito Cheng, even though Ito Cheng abandoned her when she needed him most, even though I stayed by her side for 5 years. I turned and left. That night, she came home very late. I was sitting in the living room waiting for her. When she walked in and saw me, she froze for a second. "You're not asleep yet." "Can't sleep." She changed her shoes, took off her coat, and hung up her bag. Her movements were smooth and practiced. She didn't even look at me. "Did things go well at the company?" "It was fine." I said, "Your speech at the banquet today was really good." She paused, then said, "Thanks, you didn't mention me." She turned back to look at me. "What?" I said, "You didn't mention me in your speech." She was silent for a few seconds. "I thought you didn't care about things like that." "I really don't." I stood up from the couch. "I'm just wondering, have you ever actually cared about me?" Her expression finally shifted. "Jibota, have you been drinking?" "Why else would you say something like that?" "Like what? Haven't we always been like this?" I looked at her. "Right, always like this. You're out there looking glamorous, and I'm behind the scenes cleaning up your messes. You're President Liu, and I'm Brother G. You're the heiress, and I'm your servant. We've lived like this for 5 years. And you think that's perfectly normal, right?" She said nothing. "Liu Ruyan, let me ask you something. Why did you actually marry me?" She said, "Didn't we agree back then?" I sneered. "Agree that it was just a transaction, right?" She didn't deny it. I said, "Then tell me, in these 5 years, has there been even one day where you truly saw me as your husband?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. That hesitation was my answer. I smiled and said, "Fine, I get it. You don't have to explain. We'll just keep living like this. Just like you said. A transaction." I turned and went back to the bedroom, shut the door without turning on the lights. I sat in the dark for a long time. Then, I heard her go to her own room. We've been sleeping in separate rooms for a long time. She said she's a light sleeper, and my snoring ruins her rest. I knew it was just an excuse, but I never called her out on it, because I was afraid if I did, there'd be nothing left between us at all. Year 5 of our marriage. This year, everything has become routine. She's busy with her career. I'm busy with my work. We occasionally bump into each other at home. As polite as neighbors. I was still waiting for the day she gets tired, and finally stops to look at me. Waiting for the day she realizes that even though Jibota isn't her first love, I'm the one who's walked the longest road with her. And then she sent that text. "He's back. Let's get a divorce." A few words ended 5 years of marriage, and ended my 5 years of lying to myself. I sat at the desk, looking at that divorce agreement. Suddenly I felt so poor. Nothing is sadder than a dead heart. When the heart dies, there's nothing left to agonize over. I flipped the agreement to the last page. Her signature was already there. Her handwriting was beautiful, elegant and neat, just like her. I picked up a pen, but ultimately didn't sign it. I opened my laptop and drafted a new agreement. You leave with absolutely nothing. All assets go to me. Finished typing, I hit send to her email. Then, I texted her, "I didn't sign your agreement. I sent you a new one. Check it out." I hit send. Crickets for an hour. 2 hours. She didn't reply. This is her usual tactic, the silent treatment. Every time we have a disagreement, she acts like this. No words, no replies. Ghosting me until I cave. And compromise first. This trick used to work on me, because I cared about her. Because I didn't want her to be unhappy. It's different now. I don't care anymore. I sent her a second message. "Liu Ruyan, I'm giving you 3 days. If you don't reply in 3 days, I'll assume you reject the agreement. See you in court then." This time she replied fast. "See you in court." Just those words. I looked at the screen and laughed out loud. "Great, Liu Ruyan. You asked for this." I didn't wait 3 days. I took action first thing the next morning. The first thing I did was go to the company. Even though she's been managing the company all these years, most of the employees were hired by me, especially the core team. Many were poached by me from my old industry, or were people who I met while networking over the years. They're just as loyal to me as they are to her. I gathered all the core employees and called a meeting. Not many, just 7 or 8 people, but they're all department heads. I said, the company is restructuring. I'm giving everyone a long vacation. They looked at each other. A long vacation, right? A paid long vacation. I'm paying to send you all on a world tour. Someone laughed, thinking I was joking. Brother G, are you messing with us? Not messing with you. I pulled out my phone, opened the airline app, and right in front of them, booked 10 tickets to the Maldives. First class, a 10-day trip, 5-star hotel. Everyone's expressions changed. Brother G, we're going. You guys have followed me for 4 or 5 years and never had a proper vacation. This is just a little token of my appreciation. You leave tomorrow. I'll sort out the visas for you. All expenses paid by the company. Silence for a few seconds. Then someone asked cautiously, what about the company? I said, I'll handle the company. Just go and enjoy yourselves. No one asked any more questions. Adults all know. In this kind of situation, there are only 2 explanations. Either the boss has more money than brains, or something huge is happening. And they all know I don't just throw money around. After the meeting, I pulled Sister Liu, the accountant, aside. Sister Liu, double everyone's salary this month. From the company account, Sister Liu gave me a look and nodded. She's an old neighbor of ours. I was the one who got her the job. Her loyalty is only to me. After sorting that out, I called the company security. Starting today, change the passcode to the main door. Wait for my notice for the new passcode. I hung up. I sat in the office, looking at the city out the window. From here, you can see half the city. Back in the day, this office belonged to her dad. After her dad jumped, this place was sealed for half a year. Later, when she got my money, the very first thing she did was rent this floor back. She said this was the Liu family's roots. She said she would revive the Liu family business right here. Thinking about it now, every word she said was just to use me. All her perseverance, all her hard work, was for herself and her dead dad. It had absolutely nothing to do with me, G. Boda. I was just a pawn on her chessboard. My phone rang. It was her. I picked up, but didn't speak. What did you do? Her voice was shrill and frantic, nothing like the usually elegant Lu Ruyan. I asked, what do you mean? She yelled, stop playing dumb. The core employees are all on leave. The front door passcode is changed. What the hell are you trying to do? Oh, that. I leaned back in my chair, taking my sweet time. I gave the staff a long vacation. They've worked hard for years. It's time they got some rest. You're insane. Do you know how many orders we have to deliver this quarter? What's that got to do with me? The other end of the line went dead silent. G. Boda, what exactly are you trying to do? What am I trying to do? I want you to know. This company isn't just yours. It's our joint property. If you've got the guts to divorce me, I've got the guts to turn it into an empty shell before you do. Try me. See if I dare. I hung up. She called right back. I hit ignore. She called again. I declined it again. Then she texted, I'm coming to the office right now. You just wait. I smiled and turned off my phone. I kept sitting in the office, sipping tea. 2 hours later, she arrived. She pushed open the office door and stood there, chest heaving. She must have sprinted upstairs. She always cared about her image, never losing her composure in public. But today her hair was messy, and half her makeup was ruined. G. Boda, what do you want? She was practically roaring at me. I didn't look at her, just kept flipping through documents. She gritted her teeth. You had the front door passcode changed. There's a ton of work waiting to be handled. What the hell are you doing? I finally looked up. Liu Ruyan. What did you just ask me? What do I want to do? I wanted you to come back and talk to me, face to face. She asked. Talk about what? The divorce. Right. Good. Then tell me, do you accept my terms? Her face went through a spectrum of colors. Liu Ruyan frowned. Don't push your luck. The company's assets weren't earned by you alone. I cut her off. Not me? Then who? Was it you? Then tell me, where did you get the capital? Who was the one who accompanied you, step by step, to build this whole thing up? Who gave you all those clients? Those connections? Who secured them for you? She went silent. Liu Ruyan. Deep down in your bones you look down on me. You think I'm from the slums and don't know anything. But don't you forget, the only reason you are where you are today is because I.G. Boda paved the way with hard cash. And now your precious first love is back. And you want to kick me out so he can reap the rewards. I'm not that much of a simp. She stood at the door, her chest heaving even harder. Then, her eyes turned red. It wasn't out of grievance. It was pure anger. Jiboda, don't force my hand. I'm forcing your hand. I stood up and walked up to her. Liu Ruyan, these past 5 years. Who was forcing who? You gave me the silent treatment for 5 years. You made me serve you like a servant for 5 years. You've always had another man in your heart and expected me to play dumb. Who's forcing who? Her eyes were bloodshot, but no tears fell. She bit her lip, glaring at me fiercely. I will never agree to your terms. Then no divorce. She said, I'll sue you in court. Be my guest. I walked right past her out of the office. I said, I'll change the passcode back. But you'd better act fast, because all those company orders. Every day you delay means more penalty fees. I heard her voice behind me. You're despicable. I stopped in my tracks. Despicable. I turned around. Liu Ruyan. 5 years ago you came to me and said you chose me. You said you'd build a life with me. I believed you. I gave you my whole heart. And you made me wait 5 years. Now, you're calling me despicable. I'll show you what true despicable means. You haven't seen anything yet. I left, without looking back. By the time I walked out the front doors, it was already dark. I stood downstairs and looked up at her window. The lights were on. She was still inside. Maybe calling that guy. Maybe calling her lawyer. Maybe venting to her friends about how shameless I am. Whatever. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my gallery. I found a photo from 5 years ago. It was right after we got married. One afternoon she rarely took a break from the company and took a nap at home. I sat by the bed and watched her for a long time. Finally, I couldn't resist and snapped this photo. In the picture, she was sleeping soundly. Her eyelashes curled up slightly, her lips pressed together. At the time I thought, this woman is so beautiful. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. Looking at it now, it's just ironic. I opened WeChat and posted this photo to my moments. With a caption, her, 5 years ago. I set the privacy permissions. Visible to only one person. I don't know when he added me. Maybe he secretly added me a long time ago, just to see how my rival in love was doing. I never used to post on moments. Made an exception today. After posting, I turned off my phone, went to a food stall and ordered spicy hot pot. Extra spicy, extra numbing. Ate until I was sweating bullets. This is what normal people should eat. Half an hour later, my phone lit up. A message from an unknown avatar. Mr. G. Convenient to meet up. Ito Cheng. I chewed the beef tripe in my mouth and smiled. Hook, line and sinker. Ito Cheng arranged to meet me at a cafe. The place he picked. A boutique cafe downtown. A single cup of pour over costs $88. I was wearing cargo pants and an old hoodie. When I walked in, the waiter's eyes lingered on me for 2 seconds. Before looking away, Ito Cheng was already sitting in the corner. He wore a light gray cashmere sweater, hair combed flawlessly. In front of him was some unknown type of coffee. Seeing me walk in, he stood up, wearing a polite smile on his face. Mr. G, I've heard a lot about you. I didn't shake his offered hand, pulled out a chair and sat down. Speak, what is it? His hand hovered in the air for a second. Then, he pulled it back, smile unchanging. I just wanted to chat with you. Chat about what? Liu Ruyan. I leaned back in the chair and looked at him. So this is the man Liu Ruyan is obsessed with. Eddie. Her first love. He's not bad looking. Good features, refined aura. Looks exactly like a pampered rich kid. I asked, what do you want to chat about her? He said, I know this must be hard for you to accept. Ruyan suddenly asking for a divorce. I'd be furious too if I were you. But I ask you to try and understand her perspective. I raised an eyebrow. Her perspective. She hasn't had it easy these past few years. I almost laughed out loud. I said, she hasn't had it easy. Is her difficult life my fault? That's not what I mean. I mean her marrying you back then was out of necessity. When he said this, his expression was sincere. He, genuinely, thought he was saying something considerate. Out of necessity, I repeated. He said, yes, your marriage, from the start, was built on an exchange of interests. You must be aware of that. Now that her career is stable, she wants to pursue the life she truly desires. Isn't that just human nature? I asked him. The life she truly desires. A life with you. He slightly lowered his head, showing a modest smile. He said, between her and me, there's a lot of history you wouldn't understand. Then, enlighten me. He froze for a second. I smirked. Didn't you want me to understand? So, tell me, what earth-shattering love story do you two have? He was quiet for a moment, and then started talking. He said, he and Liu Ruyan were college classmates. Their families were close. Engaged, since they were kids. He said she used to be very lively. She would act cute with him. She learned to cook for him. She would skip class to take care of him when he was sick. Ito Cheng said, once, I had a fever, and she waited outside my dorm all night, just to bring me a bowl of porridge. It was freezing that night. Her hands were frozen stiff. When he told these stories, his eyes were soft, like he was recalling something precious. I asked, and then what? Then the Liu family incident happened. I chimed in, and so you ran away. His expression stiffened. He continued, my going abroad back then was arranged by my family. I had no choice. I interrupted him. Of course you had a choice. You could have stayed. You could have helped her. You could have called her. You could have done a lot of things. You don't understand the situation back then. I really don't understand. I only know that when she was at rock bottom, she found me. I gave her money. I helped her hold up the company. I stayed with her through the hardest times. And what about you? I looked him in the eye. You were abroad. You didn't even give her a single call. His face changed. He said, the feelings between her and me can't be measured with money. Sounds nice. Then what are you back here for? He didn't answer. I'll say it for you. When she was bankrupt, you ran. Now that she's rich, you're back to freeload. Don't you think you're being a bit shameless? His lips pressed into a thin line. His refined mask finally showed a crack. Mr. G, I understand your anger, but talking like this isn't helping solve the problem at all. I impatiently replied, who wants to solve a problem with you? What problem do you and I even have to solve? He said, the problem with Liu Ruyan. She's in a lot of pain right now. Caught between you and me. I cut him off. She's in pain. She doesn't have to leave. She could cut contact with you and live a good life with me. She chose you, and now you're telling me she's in pain. She brought it on herself. Ito Cheng took a deep breath. Putting his polite smile back on, he said courteously, I came to see you today, hoping we could resolve this peacefully. You spent on Ruyan 5 years of time and money. We both acknowledge that. So in the divorce agreement, you are given ample financial compensation. 5 million is all the cash Ruyan can come up with right now. The company still needs to operate. I said, I funded that company. But it's the Liu family's business. Legally, it's marital property. Ito Cheng looked at me, a trace of subtle disdain in his eyes. Mr. G, frankly speaking, do you really want to go to court? With your background going up against Ruyan in court, what will the media write? Then everyone will know how you used money to buy this marriage. For you, this 5 million, plus the property and savings, is already a massive amount of wealth, enough for you to live very well for the rest of your life. He said it very gently, even with a hint of concern. But I understood. He was reminding me of where I came from, reminding me I wasn't worthy. I stood up. He thought I was leaving, and stood up too. Mr. G, let me finish. I'm not interested in hearing it. But I raised my hand to stop him. Ito Cheng, you spent half the day talking about your past with Liu Ruyan, telling me what she's done for you. But did you ever consider that she has never done a single thing for me? 5 years she hasn't cooked one meal for me, hasn't stayed by my side once when I was sick. She's always been cold to me, polite and distant. I used to think it was just her personality. Now I know, she's not cold. She's just cold to me. I picked up the cup of coffee in front of him and glanced at it. An 88-buck cup of coffee. I couldn't afford it before. Still not used to it now. But that's not the point. The point is, you're holding a cup of coffee talking to me about feelings, talking for half the day, and you didn't even think to order one for me. I put the cup down. I said, "You two are really alike. Both deep down think you're better than everyone else. People like you never truly consider others. You only care about your own feelings, your own interests, your own love. I came to see you today, not to listen to your garbage. I came to see what kind of trash this man she's obsessed with really is. Now, I see it clearly. Nothing special." I turned and walked away. When I reached the door, I looked back. Io Chang was still standing there, looking conflicted. He probably never expected a peasant like me would dare to talk to him like that. 2 days later, I received a court summons. Liu Ruyan had officially filed for divorce. I recognized her lawyer. Last name Shu Tingting. A pretty famous divorce lawyer locally. Shu Tingting gave me a call, her tone professional and polite. "Mr. G, my client hopes to resolve this matter as quickly as possible. If you are willing to negotiate, we can sit down and talk." "Talk about what?" "The asset division plan. My client is willing to make concessions." I replied, "If she leaves with nothing, I'll agree to the divorce." The other end of the line was quiet for 2 seconds. "Mr. G, frankly speaking, leaving with nothing has no basis in law. The civil code stipulates, in a divorce, the principle of property division is to favor the wife and the rights of children. She doesn't have children. In principle, it's an equal division, unless one party is at major fault. But even with infidelity, it wouldn't lead to a complete loss of property rights. Moreover, my client denies infidelity." I replied, "Then see you in court." "Mr. G, going to court might not be in your favor. Most of the assets under your name were acquired after marriage. The court will most likely rule for an equal split." I said lightly, "Then I won't divorce." "You can refuse the divorce, but the court will assess if the relationship is completely broken, if one party insists on it." I interrupted her again. "I know the first lawsuit will likely be dismissed. She'll have to wait another 6 months to file again." Shu Tingting went silent for a few seconds. "Seems you've done your homework. Then you should know, stalling won't change the final outcome." I chuckled. "Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But we won't know until we try." "Lawyer Shu, let me remind you of something. Liu Ruyan is your client, but we share marital assets. Half the lawyer fees she paid you belong to me. Using my money to help someone sue me, don't you think that's messed up?" Shu Tingting didn't answer that. She just said, "I will pass your message to my client. Goodbye." The first hearing was a month later. I deliberately bought a new suit, but got it one size too big. It hung loosely on my body, looking incredibly awkward. I didn't style my hair, and only shaved half my beard. Not because I forgot, but on purpose. Liu Ruyan wore a black suit, hair tied up, wearing minimal makeup, looking elegant but pitiful. Sitting next to her was Shu Tingting. The judge was a woman in her 40s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. "The plaintiff may begin." Shu Tingting stood up, her words very measured. "The plaintiff and defendant have been separated due to discord. The marriage exists in name only. We request the court to dissolve the marriage and divide the marital assets according to law." When it was my turn, my lawyer was someone I hired last minute, a young guy, fresh off the bar exam. I told him not to say a word. "I'll handle this myself." The judge asked for my statement. I stood up and looked at Liu Ruyan. She looked back at me, her eyes ice cold. Then, my performance began. "I don't want a divorce." When I said this, I kept my voice low and a bit raspy. "I've been married to my wife for 5 years. In these 5 years, I've never done anything to betray her. I let her manage all our money. When she wanted to start a business, I supported her. I don't understand why she wants to divorce me." Liu Ruyan's mouth twitched slightly. I continued, "She claims we don't get along, but I've never even argued with her. Whatever she says goes. She wanted separate bedrooms, so I slept in the guest room. I kept waiting for her to come around. I thought she was just overworked, and things would get better once she wasn't so busy. I never thought she'd drag me to court." I took a deep breath, forcing my eyes to get a little teary. "Your Honor, I won't divorce her. I don't want anything else. I just want my wife back. I know I come from a humble background. I know I don't deserve her, but I really gave it my all. I'm begging you, please don't grant this divorce." The courtroom went dead silent. Liu Ruyan's expression finally changed. Not moved, furious. She probably never expected me to play the shameless simp card. Shu Tingting whispered something in her ear, making her suppress her anger. The judge looked at Liu Ruyan, then announced an adjournment. A week later, the verdict came down. Divorce denied. The court ruled the marital bond wasn't completely broken, dismissing the plaintiff's lawsuit. When Liu Ruyan walked out of the courthouse, her face was livid. She walked past me and hissed one sentence. "You're disgusting." I smiled and replied, "Right back at ya." That night, I received a text message. It was from Ito Cheng. "Mr. G. What the hell do you want? Dragging this out doesn't benefit anyone. Ruyan is miserable right now. Can't you just let her go?" I replied, "Let her go? Based on what? Don't you love her? If you love someone, you should make them happy." I looked at the message and smirked. This idiot is actually talking to me about love. I asked, "Since you think loving someone means making them happy, why did you run away back then? Don't you love her? Where were you when she needed you the most?" He didn't reply for ages. Then he sent a paragraph. "I can't change the past. But now, I hope you can let go. You and she were never from the same world. Forcing it is pointless. Even if you drag this out, she'll never love you. Ito Cheng, let me tell you a secret." I typed slowly. "Do you think Liu Ruyan will be happy being with you? Do you really think she loves you? She loves the college version of you. The guy in the white shirt playing basketball. The guy with family wealth and background. If one day you have absolutely nothing, do you think she'll still love you?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, you are no different from me. She's just using you too. It's just that you still have some use to her right now." He blocked me. I stared at the red exclamation mark in the chat, leaned back on the couch, and closed my eyes. My mind was a mess. Thinking of 5 years ago, the way she stopped me in the hallway. Thinking of the first time she smiled at me. Thinking of the way she looked at me these past 5 years. Cold, polite, distant. I had been lying to myself, telling myself she just didn't know how to express it. That she cared about me deep down. Now that this bubble has popped, it's for the best. At least I don't have to lie to myself anymore. I decided to take a trip to clear my head. Booked a flight to Australia. No special reason. Just because it's far enough away. So far that I wouldn't wake up every day remembering that she's still in this city with another man. Before leaving, I cleaned up some of the company's mess. The staff on vacation gradually returned, but the company's workflow was already completely derailed. Several old clients, furious over delayed orders, turned against us. Liu Ruyan was frantically running around putting out fires. I pretended not to know. She called me once. I didn't answer. She texted me, her tone much softer than before, saying she wanted to have a proper talk. I still didn't reply. The winter in Australia was very warm. I rented an apartment on the Gold Coast, woke up naturally every day, then went for a walk on the beach. Sometimes, I'd sit there all afternoon, watching the waves, spacing out. On the third day, I got an automated text from the bank. Under G Boda. Transferred 200 AMB to Ito Cheng. I froze for a second, thinking I read it wrong. I opened my mobile banking app and checked carefully. Sure enough, 200 KK transferred out. It was our joint marital account. In other words, Liu Ruyan was using our shared money to fund her sugar baby side piece. I kept scrolling back. 100, 50K ko, 300K, 200K. Starting from 3 months ago, she had steadily transferred out nearly 2 million RMB, all to the same person, Ito Cheng. I sat on the beach, holding my phone. Suddenly, the ocean breeze felt a bit chilly. She slept next to me for 5 years, and never even bought me a decent birthday gift. Never once. Every time I asked if we should buy something nice, she'd say the company's cash flow was tight, and we needed to be frugal. I believed her. I lived frugally for 5 years, wore cheap $20 t-shirts, drove a beat-up used car, and only dared to buy cheap ergo-2 liquor. And turns out, she was keeping a man on the side. That very night, I booked a flight back home. First I called my lawyer. I'm suing to claw back my marital asset. Liu Ruyan, without my consent, privately gifted massive amounts of marital funds to Ito Cheng. I have the record of every single transfer. I am getting every last penny of that money back. The lawyer said, no problem. The evidence is rock solid. It's an easy win. Then I called Shu Tingting. She picked up fast. Mr. G, lawyer Shu, please pass a message to your client. Every single cent she transferred to Ito Cheng, I am clawing it all back. Also, I've filed to freeze our joint accounts. From today onward, every penny she spends needs my approval. Shu Tingting went quiet for a moment. I'll pass that along. I added, one more thing for her. Congratulate her for taking 5 years to finally kill off the very last shred of affection I had for her. I hung up when the plane took off, looking out the window at the shrinking Australian coastline. My heart was surprisingly calm. That feeling was like finally pulling out a tooth that had been rotting forever. It hurts, but it's a relief. When I got home, the house was pitch black. I turned on the lights and found the living room completely trashed. The coffee table was flipped. Vases were smashed. Throw pillows and magazines scattered everywhere. My clothes had been thrown out of the closet, littering the floor. There was a note stuck to the bedroom door, with just 3 words, "Are you happy?" The handwriting was a mess, pressed so hard it tore the paper. Looks like Liu Ruyan found out I froze the accounts. I chuckled, stepped over the trash on the floor, went into the study, and locked the door. Early the next morning, I was woken up by a knocking on the door. I opened it to find Liu Ruyan standing there. She was wearing a white blouse, the collar a bit wrinkled. Her hair was tied back messily. You could tell she hadn't slept a wink last night. I said, "Morning." She ignored me and walked straight into the living room. "Chiboda, do you really have to do this?" "Do what?" "Push everyone into a dead end, freezing the accounts, gutting the company, suing for the money. Are you going to drive me to my grave before you're satisfied?" "I'm driving you to your grave." I walked over to the couch, picked up a throw pillow from the floor, dusted it off, sat down, and looked at Liu Ruyan. "Let's be reasonable here. You brought up the divorce first. You transferred money to another guy first. You cheated on me while we were still married. Who is pushing who?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. Her eyes were a little red, but this time it wasn't anger. It was an emotion I couldn't quite name. She said, "I didn't cheat." "Then, tell me, why did you transfer so much money to Ito Cheng?" She didn't say anything. I laughed. "Does he not have a job after coming back? Is he broke? Does he need you to be his sugar mama?" "Liu Ruyan, you really know how to pick him off. A broke loser. You married a freeloader, and now you picked up another one. Your taste in men is truly top tier." Her body swayed a little, like she'd been physically struck. Then, she raised her hand and swung at my face. I dodged, and her hand landed on my shoulder. Not much force, but fierce. She hit me a few more times, completely losing it, looking nothing like the usually elegant and composed Liu Ruyan. "Who are you to talk about him like that? What gives you the right? You don't understand anything. You have no idea about him and me." She suddenly stopped, like she realized something. She stood there looking completely drained. I looked at her. Looked at this woman I'd known for 5 years. Her elegance was shattered. Her restraint was gone. The cold mask was torn off. She stood there, hair messy, eyes red, like a helpless child. But I felt absolutely nothing inside. Not a single shred of sympathy. Turns out, hating someone is way easier than loving them. I asked, "Are you done throwing a tantrum?" She didn't answer. "If not, keep going. If you're done, get out. Making a scene like this in my house. If the neighbors see, and it gets out, it won't be a good look for President Liu." She raised her eyes to look at me. There were tears in her eyes, but they didn't fall. Her voice was very soft, like she was talking to herself. She said, "You didn't used to be like this." I said, "That was then. This is now. Before, I actually thought you'd love me." Her tears finally fell, but she didn't wipe them. She just let the tears stream down her cheeks. Then, she let out a laugh. "Chiboda, you're asking if I love you. Fine. I'll tell you right now, I will never love you in this lifetime. Don't ever expect me to love you. You're just a peasant. You think having a little money makes you high society. Keep dreaming. You'll always be that relocated trash from the slums. You'll always be." She stopped. I just urged her on. "If you're done talking, get out." She stood there and looked at me for a long, long time. Then she turned and walked away. Her high heels stepped on the broken porcelain on the floor, making a harsh, crunching sound. I sat on the couch without moving. The sunlight outside was beautiful. It shone on the floorboards, making the broken porcelain gleam. I looked down at my own hands. Rough, thick knuckles. There were still traces of manual labor under my fingernails. She wasn't wrong. I am just a peasant. But this peasant is going to smash all her perfect little plans into pieces, leaving absolutely nothing. Half a year later, Liu Ruyan filed for divorce in court a second time. The law states that, after a first divorce denial, you must be separated for a full year before filing again. Then the court should grant it. But she said she couldn't wait a year. Her reason was that the relationship was completely shattered, with zero chance of reconciliation. Her lawyer, Shu Tingting, had some solid connections in the industry. I don't know what strings she pulled, but the court accepted it. I arrived on time on the day of the hearing. When I walked into the courtroom, I saw her. It had been half a year. She had changed a lot, so much skinnier. Her once perfectly tailored suit now looked baggy. Her collarbones were sharply visible. Her makeup was still flawless, but it couldn't hide the dark circles and sunken cheeks. Then, I noticed her belly. She was about 5 months pregnant. It was already showing a bump. Even her loose clothes couldn't hide it. Sitting next to her was that man, Eo Cheng. He was wearing a dark suit, looking anxious, constantly checking his phone. Occasionally he'd lean down to talk to her. She didn't respond much, just sat there quietly, with one hand resting on her belly. I walked over and took my seat on the defendant's side. When I walked past her, she looked up at me. Her gaze was complicated, full of hate and exhaustion. There was something indescribable in it. I gave a slight nod. As a greeting, court began. Shu Tingting gave the opening statement for Liu Ruyan. Her wording was much more absolute this time. She listed a ton of evidence: the time we'd been separated, our relationship status, our communication records. Trying to prove the marriage was completely dead, and keeping it going was just torture for both parties. When it was my turn, I stood up and said, "Your Honor, I stand by what I said. I am not willing to divorce." Shu Tingting immediately objected. The defendant claims he doesn't want a divorce, but in the past 6 months, he froze all joint marital assets, causing severe financial hardship for the plaintiff. He even sued to claw back her normal expenses. These actions inherently prove that the defendant has zero affection left for the plaintiff. I said, what I sued to claw back was the money she gave her side piece. That wasn't a normal expense. Shu Tingting shot back, that was a loan. A loan? Where's the IOU then? What's the interest rate? What's the repayment date? Shu Tingting choked on her words. Then, she adjusted her strategy, setting the financial disputes aside. The marriage between the plaintiff and defendant exists. In name only. They've been separated for a long time. There is absolutely no marital intimacy between them. I asked, then whose kid is that? In her belly. The courtroom went dead silent. Everyone's eyes immediately locked onto Liu Ruyan's stomach. Shu Tingting reacted fast and said, that is the plaintiff's personal privacy, and is irrelevant to this case. I honestly couldn't hold back a laugh. I asked her, how is it irrelevant? She's pregnant. That means someone slept with her, and that person wasn't me. So, whose kid is it? The judge banged the gavel and said, defendant, please focus your statements on the key dispute of this case. But I completely flipped the script. Your Honor, I refuse to divorce, because that child is mine. The courtroom fell into absolute silence. Even Shu Tingting was dumbfounded. Liu Ruyan's head snapped up. Her eyes widened in horror. She probably never imagined I would spout such BS. What the hell are you talking about? Her voice was shrill and frantic. This isn't your kid. The moment she said that, she realized what she'd just admitted. All the color drained from her face. The entire courtroom was dead quiet for a few seconds. I didn't look at her. I just kept addressing the judge. Your Honor, Liu Ruyan and I are legally married. She's pregnant, so I have every reason to believe the child is mine. Now she's asking for a divorce. I do not agree. Whether it's mood swings or postpartum anxiety, I believe there's still a chance for us to reconcile. Besides, the child isn't even born yet. As her husband and the father, I have a responsibility to stay by her side through this. Bullshit. Liu Ruyan shot up from her seat. Her hands braced against the table. Her whole body was shaking. Your Honor, he's lying. This baby has nothing to do with him. The judge looked at her. Ms. Liu, please, calm down. You say the child is not the defendant's. Do you have proof? I have my prenatal checkup records. I calmly cut in. Prenatal records only prove you're pregnant. They don't prove who the father is. The only thing that can prove it is a paternity test after birth. The child isn't born yet, so we can't do one. Once the baby is born, I'll gladly take a paternity test. If the child isn't mine, I'll own it. But until then, I won't agree to a divorce. Liu Ruyan looked at me. Her lips were trembling. Her face was as pale as paper. There was something in her eyes I had never seen before. Not anger, not disgust. It was fear. She finally realized what I was doing. You're crazy, she whispered. You're crazy. Shu Tingting stood up. Your Honor. The defendant's claims have absolutely no factual basis and show clear malicious intent to stall. I looked at the judge and said, the law outlines the standards for a broken marriage and the conditions for divorce. I haven't cheated. There's no domestic violence, no abuse. I do not wish to divorce. When a court rules on a divorce, it must consider the wishes of both parties. Not to mention, there's a child involved now. As the husband, how could I give up on my family before the child is even born? The judge looked at me, then looked at Liu Ruyan. After a long silence, she said, this case is adjourned, pending a paternity test after the plaintiff gives birth, before a ruling will be made. She paused and slammed the gavel. Court adjourned. When the gavel fell, Liu Ruyan looked like all the bones had been pulled from her body. She slumped back into her chair. Shu Tingting spoke to her in a low voice, but it was like she couldn't hear a thing. Ito Cheng stood up from the gallery. His face was livid, lips pressed tight, fists clenched white. I picked up the documents on the table and turned to leave. As I was walking out of the courtroom, I heard rapid footsteps behind me. Ji Bo-da. It was Liu Ruyan's voice. Hoarse, like her throat was full of sand. I turned around. She was standing in the middle of the hallway. Ito Cheng was supporting her arm. She shook off his hand, took a few steps forward, and stood in front of me. She looked at me, eyes red, but tears didn't fall. Why are you doing this? You know the baby isn't yours. I replied, because I want you to pay the price. Just because of that, right? Her lips trembled. She said, you know, I have nothing left. The company is gone. The money is gone. I have absolutely nothing. I only have this baby. And you want to take this away too. I shook my head. I'm not trying to take it away. I'm telling you, however much you owed me back then is exactly how much you're going to cough up now. What? 5 years ago, you chose me because you needed money. You sold yourself to me. Now, you want to leave. You think it's that easy. Did you take me for a fool to play with? Too bad I'm not. She looked at me, and her tears finally fell. But she didn't wipe them, letting the tears stream down her cheeks. Ji Boda, you didn't used to be like this. I replied, congratulations, you taught me how to grow up. She smiled, a very soft, very bitter smile. Ji Boda, you really are just a vindictive peasant. You think having a little money makes you high society. Keep dreaming. You'll always be that relocated trash from the slums. You will always. She finished speaking, and stopped. I just repeated, if you're done talking, get out. She stood there and looked at me for a long, long time. Then, she turned and walked away, her high heels clicking on the marble floor, the sound getting further and further away. Ito Cheng gave me a look. There was hate in that look, but mostly it was powerlessness and despair. He chased after her. I stood in the hallway, empty, leaving just me alone. My mind was a mess. Thinking of 5 years ago, the way she stopped me in the hallway. Thinking of the first time she smiled at me. Thinking of the way she looked at me these past 5 years. Cold, polite, distant. I had been lying to myself, telling myself she just didn't know how to express it. That she cared about me deep down. Now that this bubble has popped, it's for the best. At least I don't have to lie to myself anymore. Life went on. The divorce lawsuit hung in the balance. Both sides' lawyers were still tugging back and forth. The court had ordered an extension. Nobody could make a move until that baby was born. Her belly got bigger by the day. Her company's operations got worse by the day. Her situation grew more difficult every day. I heard she rented an apartment on the west side of town. Ito Chang would visit her occasionally, then disappear for days at a time. No consistency. She had someone sell off some of her jewelry and bags, and got some cash. I don't know how long it'll last her. These rumors just found their way to my ears. I didn't ask. But people love to gossip. I just said, and kept eating my food, and sleeping my sleep. 3 months later, I got a call. 3rd City Hospital Maternity Ward. Is this Mr. G. Boda? We are the 3rd City Hospital. Ms. Liu Ruyan is hospitalized here. It's an emergency situation. We need a family member's signature. I held my phone, standing on the balcony. It was raining outside. The winter rain hit my face, cold as needles. I froze for a long time. Dragging out this divorce was just to wear her down, taking it one step at a time. I didn't expect this twist. I asked, what's the situation? The other side said, premature birth at 32 weeks. Placental abruption, severe hemorrhaging. Needs an emergency C-section. The patient's consciousness is fading. You are her spouse. I asked, does she have any other emergency contacts? They replied, there's only one contact in the patient's phone. Saved as 1. But the call won't go through. You are her legal spouse. If you could come down here. We're separated. Mr. G, the situation is critical. I added, the baby is someone else's. The line went silent for 2 seconds. Mr. G, both the mother and baby are in critical danger. You are the only family contact in our system. If no one signs. I replied, I can't sign. Mr. G, I emphasized again, I cannot sign this. Does she not have anyone else? No one else, I said, then follow hospital protocol. Without a family's signature, the hospital can initiate emergency rescue procedures in critical situations. Handle it yourselves. I hung up. My phone rang again. I declined it, and it rang again. Declined it again. Then came a text message. Mr. G, this is the nurse who just called you. Miss Liu is bleeding heavily. The fetal heart rate is dropping. If we don't operate immediately, neither the mother nor the baby will survive. I'm begging you. I stared at that text message for a long time. Then, I muted my phone, put it in my pocket, put on my coat, and walked out. Traffic was bad. I drove for almost an hour before arriving at the 3rd Hospital Maternity Ward. The hallway was lit with pale white lights. The air smelled strongly of disinfectant. The nurse saw me and quickly walked over. Mr. Jai, come with me. Sign this first. She took me to the nurse's station and handed over a surgical consent form, packed with terms. Severe hemorrhaging, organ failure, fetal distress, risk of intraoperative death, and at the very bottom, family signature. I picked up the pen. The delivery room door next to us was closed. I could vaguely hear the beeping of machines inside, and the sound of nurses running. Someone yelled, blood pressure is dropping. Get the blood transfusion ready. I looked down at the consent form, thinking back to 5 years ago, in the hallway, when she said she chose me. Her eyes so certain, like she had everything under control. Thinking of every night I fell asleep alone over these 5 years. Thinking of her saying, I will never love you in this lifetime. Thinking of her standing in court, heavily pregnant, leaning on the table, shaking all over, asking me, do you know, I have absolutely nothing left. Thinking of the last time, she turned and walked away. The sound of her heels getting further and further away. I put the pen down. The nurse looked at me, her expression changing from anxious to confused. Mr. G, I smiled. I said, I'm not signing. What? I kept my tone flat. We're already separated. The baby isn't mine. I'm not the father, so I have no right to sign this. But legally, you're still. I nodded and said, legally, she's my wife. But this baby has absolutely no blood relation to me. She's carrying another man's kid, and now you want me to sign to save her. The nurse's mouth hung open, speechless. I looked at her. I'm not signing this. The hallway was silent for a few seconds. The nurse's lips moved. Mr. G, the mother and baby might not make it. I know. Someone needs to take responsibility. But that someone shouldn't be me. I turned and walked towards the exit. After just a few steps, a voice came from behind me. G. Boda. It was a man. I turned around. Ito Cheng came running from the end of the hallway. His hair was a mess. His coat was only half on. His shoes weren't even on properly. He saw me, rushed over, and grabbed my arm. His voice was trembling. Sign it. Sign it. Aren't you her husband? Hurry up and sign. The doctor says she's not going to make it. I shook off his hand and said, You, sign. You're the father of the child. I can't sign. I'm not her husband. So you know you're not her husband. Didn't think about that when you knocked her up, did you? Why are you begging me? Go beg the doctors. Go beg them to start the emergency procedure. This is none of my business. Jiboda. His voice broke. Tears instantly welled up. I'm begging you. I don't want anything anymore. I'll leave. I'll never appear in front of you guys again. Just sign the paper. I'll give you my life. Okay. He dropped to his knees. His knees smashed against the marble floor. It made a loud thud, and everyone in the hallway looked over. He kneeled in front of me, grabbing my pant legs with both hands, his face covered in snot and tears. He choked out, I'm begging you. The child is innocent. I looked down at him and said, The child is innocent. No, that's your own sin. Don't try to guilt-trip me with that. 5 years ago, when she needed someone the most, where were you? He looked up, his face full of tears. You were abroad. You ran away. Now you come back and destroy someone else's marriage. Trample her husband's dignity into the ground. And you want me to save her now. Based on what? I pried his hands off my legs. Ito Cheng. The thing I regret most in my entire life is stopping in that hallway 5 years ago. I stepped past him and walked towards the end of the hallway. Behind me came the sound of his crying. Gut-wrenching, like he was coughing up his own organs. I didn't look back. When I walked out of the hospital doors, the rain had stopped. The streetlights were on, reflecting patches of dim yellow light. I stood on the steps and lit a cigarette. My hands were shaking a little, probably because it was too cold. 3 days later, the hospital called. Liu Ruyan passed away from multiple organ failure. Despite emergency efforts, the baby didn't make it either. The hospital stated they had tried their best. I said, and hung up, standing on the balcony. Someone in the opposite building was hanging out a blanket. The sun was bright. The blanket billowed up in the wind and fell back down. There was one less person in this world. To everyone else, it made no difference at all. As her legal spouse, I handled the funeral arrangements. I went alone on the day of the cremation. The funeral home staff asked me if I wanted to pick a nicer urn. The sandalwood one was $3,800. I said no. Just the cheapest one is fine. The urn I ended up with was white, very plain, without any patterns. I carried that urn out of the funeral home, stood at the door for a moment, then made a call to Ito Cheng. It rang for a long time before he answered. Who is it? It's me. She's dead. Her ashes are with me. Do you want them? The other end of the line was silent for a very long time. So long I thought he hung up. Then he said, Where? Wait. By the river. He came. I hadn't seen him in a while. He looked like he'd aged into a different person. His hair was messy, with patches of white. His eyes were sunken, unshaven, wearing a crumpled coat. Mud stuck to his pant legs. He saw the white urn in my hands and stopped dead in his tracks. What is that? I said, her. And your son. He stared at that urn, his eyes turning redder and redder. I said, Now she belongs solely to you. Nobody's fighting you for her. Nobody's stopping you. Take it. Don't mention it. I shoved the urn into his arms. He looked down at the white urn in his arms and started trembling uncontrollably, like a leaf. Broken gasps came from his throat, sounding like crying but also like laughing. I turned around and walked towards the parking lot. I heard his voice behind me. Jiboda, you're going to rot in hell. Karma will come for you. I raised my hand and waved. I said, the one rotting in hell is you. You little sugar baby. I didn't stop walking. He cried his heart out. The sound carried on the river wind. Very, very far. I got in the car, started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I saw him kneeling on the ground, clutching that white urn, curled up in a tight ball, his face pressed against the cold porcelain, his shoulders shaking violently. The river wind blew his hair up, revealing gray roots. In the distance, The horn of a ship sounded, deep and drawn out. I looked away, drove out of the parking lot. The early winter wind blew in, chilling my face to the bone. Ahead was a dark highway, and further off, the faintly glowing horizon. I stepped on the gas. A new day was about to begin. The end.